John Beaudin from Rock History Book. Toto, Hydra, released on October 30th, 1979. I was a crazy, insane Toto fan by then, waiting for the new album. But back then in 79, unless you had the new edition of Rolling Stone magazine or someone knew a definitive release date, you'd walk into the record store not knowing what was going to be there. And I remember the day I saw it there. I was intrigued by the cover. Then I saw Toto. It was a good time, but it was the dreaded sophomore album. You know, things don't always go the way they're supposed to go with a sophomore album. Sometimes it's even better. The band's first album came out in 1978. And to this date, when you look at Toto, their debut album sold 4.5 million copies. Like, that's insane. The first single went double platinum, which was Hold the Line, which, of course, was a huge hit and still played today. Their chief songwriter in the band was, back then, it was David Paich. He wrote most of the stuff. I mean, the other guys held on and caught up really, really quickly. And David Paich wrote Hold the Line. What were people saying back then when the debut album came out? They were all saying that these guys could play, and these guys were like studio cats, and we'd all heard the rumors about Boss Skaggs and Silk Degrees, which was where we're going now. David Hungate was in the fold. He was their bass player. He was on their first 4 albums, would reunite with the band later, much later on, after he became a studio cat in Nashville. And he was on Silk Degree. And then there was drummer Jeff Porcaro. He had played on Boss Skaggs' Breakthrough, that big Silk Degree album, along with David Paich, who, by the way, wrote co-wrote almost the entire album. So there you go, along with Boss Skaggs. Then there was the man with, what a voice. And he's lost his voice since then. John Zaka is putting together a documentary about him. Had a monstrous voice, Bobby Kimball. There was. Steve, look at there. I'm not sure. Someone keeps emailing me. Something's going on. Did something break? Hold on a second. Just give me a second. I've got to check this out. Okay, hold on. Something's happening in the city I'm in, which involves the police, but it doesn't involve us. So there you go. We're here to chat about, sorry, I've got too many distractions because news breaking in my city right now. We're here to talk about the second album, and something happened that was kind of interesting on the second album. We're going to give the table to Steve Porcaro. Take a listen.
And we, Hydra, Hydra had Secret Love and stuff. I was able to go for it. You know what I mean? We were going for it, on Hydra.
But you talk about, though, let me interrupt you. You talk about mood and atmosphere.
Yeah.
That, going into, leading up from the beginning of that was atmosphere.
So listen to this. You'll love this real quick. I really used to bump heads with my brother Jeff and Luke, and what started happening, I think it really kind of started with the Hydra album. The guys started getting so popular as studio musicians when like for instance on Hydra, when it got time to do all the synths, Luke took off to Montserrat. Luke and Jeff took off to Montserrat to work with Elton, on Elton's album, while I was doing the synths. And the whole intro to Hydra, that whole sound design thing, Paich and I spliced that on in mastering in the front of the album. The guys had never heard that until they heard until they were at the playback party with the record company.
What?
And all of a sudden we're playing our new album and they hit go and all of a sudden this stuff comes out and they're all looking at each other like, what is this?
Oh my God. Classic. That is awesome. That's the best story I've heard in months.
No, I'd never, you know what I mean? That was this was kind of, this is what defined my relationship with the band. It was that, you know what I mean? And they were, at first, you know what I mean, they're looking at me like they're going to kill me. And then I think the record company president walks up and goes, "That's the most amazing thing I've ever heard," or something. And they're like, "Yeah, of course it was. Way to go, Steve," I think. You know what I mean? It was that kind of defines my relationship with the band. You know what I mean? That kind of stuff. And that was the kind of ballsy shit that I was capable of doing too in those days. Because I was working my ass off, and I didn't care whether they didn't get it or not. This is you know what I mean? I wanted to go for it. I wanted to use.
I know some folks who don't like that album, but like that beginning of the album. So take that.
The Alien soundtrack. I'd been listening to the Alien sound. I couldn't stop listening to it. It would give me, not that I liked having anxiety attacks, but the way it affected me viscerally. You know what I mean? This soundtrack made me upset, and I never even saw the movie. I hadn't seen the movie yet. But the music was that 12-tone stuff those clusters were so, evocative. You know what I mean? That's what I was trying to ape, was that stuff. Jerry Goldsmith.
Sorry, I'm so distracted. There's a missing child in the city, and people are texting me, and everything's okay. But all of a sudden I got on live and I got all these messages, and I'm going, what's going on? Did someone die? Why is everyone trying to get a hold of me? So we're going back to this. We're going to have David Paich on, and David Paich is going to, we know Jeff Porcaro, we lost him in the summer of 1992, but there's an interesting thing that David Paich says about Jeff Porcaro, who we all miss so much. Do you think would Toto, it's hard to say. It's kind of like saying, why did you tear up my rookie cards from my baseball cards when I was young? But where would Jeff be now, you think?
Oh, God. He was such a homebody. He loved his family. He would just be on steroids. Not on steroids, but that's metaphorically speaking. Just whatever he was then, he would have get more refined, and I can't say enough about him. He was my partner, and he was so imaginative. He was responsible for all the covers, anything artistic that we did that we liked, he was involved with heavily. He could have been an artist. He can draw freehand, and so he can design albums, and he can storyboard videos, and he does all this stuff. But one of, if not the greatest drummer I've played with, and definitely my favorite drummer to play with anybody. The shorthand, he just picks up on songs instantaneously. 20 seconds into a song, he has the whole vibe down, and it's just, you just play. It's like playing to a machine. That was like playing to literally a machine that can think,
What would he be doing now? It's a question I've asked an awful lot of people. Would he still be doing it? Of course he would. He was one of the greatest drummers that ever lived. Talk about being in the pocket, being in the groove. Jeff Porcaro. And I was listening to Hydra a while ago, and just loving so many things about it. There's Steve Porcaro right there on the cover. There's the gatefold. Oops, over here with all the band members. I was a little disappointed with the album, considering how much I loved the first one, but it's a great album. 4.5 million for the debut album, 2 million for Hydra. So still an amazing feat for any album. Kim Trickle, how you doing? Alex Knight, you saw Toto opening for Journey recently, and they were great live. I've only seen Toto once. People are always surprised by that, but I saw him in Vancouver. Steve Porcaro gave us some tickets for the family, and we went backstage and hung out with them. But the fact that they did that intro without the band knowing, and they were at the listening party, and all of a sudden, I'm sure Steve Lukather was looking at the other members going, what is that? What's going on? But it turned out okay. We're going to do more of these. Hopefully news won't break. I swear to God, I got 10 messages really quickly, and I thought something really bad had happened as soon as I came on, so I was very distracted. Sorry about that. Usually we're pretty much bang, 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 bang when we do these videos. If you want to support the channel, the 2Ps, they are in the description. of this video, you can make a donation via PayPal. It's right at the very top. Or you can join our Patreon and get early access to our videos. We're working on Alan Parsons tonight, and are going to be putting up part 1 of Alan Parsons coming up tomorrow. The thing about Alan Parsons, all his answers are very quick. Alan answers every question with about a 45-minute to a minute-and-a-half answer, but he's succinct. Kim, saw them April, was going to see them again in February. Oh, cool. Love Toto, love talking about them. Anyway, John Beaudin from Rock History Music. Take good care. I got to go find out of all the hubbub that's happening in my town. I think there was a child abducted, and they found the child in the Walmart, which is the one we frequent here. Amazing. Take good care.